Thanks for that. Let's end, Debbie, with immigration.
Yes, lots of talk at the moment. And as David pointed out on Monday, RAF Scampton is going to be possibly used to rehome asylum seekers. And I just want to bring everybody's attention to what's going on in Dorset, because the Bibby Stockholm is the barge that's going to be moored in Portland, just off the Dorset coast, Portland. This is going to be home to 500 migrant men. Now, the population of Portland is 13,562. And what people are complaining about is that there's no infrastructure, exactly the same as people in other parts of the country. The NHS is beyond capacity and there's been no consultation. It's all been very secretive. The MP, Richard Drax, he's also come out and said that this barge is not in the national interest. Now, at the moment, the barge, which you can see there is 3 stories tall, has 222 cabins. Well, if it's got 222 cabins and it's meant to be homing more than 500 men, then you can imagine the overcrowding. At the moment, it's in dry dock in Falmouth. I caught a piece on our local news last night on BBC Spotlight, which just gave an idea of some of the funding. So you can see there that the government are going to give Dorset Council a one-off payment of £377,000, plus they're going to be giving them an extra £3,500 per asylum seeker. And this is to fund PCSOs, to give them English lessons, and also apparently to organise activities. However, Corporate Watch, I'm a great fan of watching for Corporate Watch. If anybody doesn't know Corporate Watch, please go and check them out, because they do great exposés. They did a great expose on South West Water for me personally, so I know they're very good reporters. They're honest and ethical reporters. They've done an expose on the 200-year family business behind the Bibby Stockholm. So what does the report actually say? The report says that it has been used as a floating detention centre in the Netherlands and Germany. Now, this barge it's had terrible things happen on it. It's engineless, so it can't move. Once it's there, it's there. Once it's moored, it's moored. There's been violence, sexual exploitation, poor sanitation. There's also been a death where somebody didn't receive medical attention in time. But it's owned by 90% of the Bibby Line group is owned by the Bibby family. And apparently the migrants will be able to leave, but the expectation, and that's where the word becomes very relevant, they're expected to return by 11 o'clock. And they say that there'll be significant surveillance. My question is, on who? Is this on the whole of Portland? Is everyone in Portland going to be surveyed, or are asylum seekers going to be tagged? We don't know. So when you delve further into the Corporate Watch expose, you can see that there's been suicide attempts. There's been, again, you can see there's been a death from no medical care. There's been abuse, and plenty of people that have got experience of a kind of undercover expose of the Bibby are saying that it's not safe. According to Corporate Watch, it's going to cost £20,000 a day to charter and berth. And that equates to over 11 million in 18 months. And the other beneficiary is Langham Industries, who are an engineering company who have been given regular donations to UKIP. So keep an eye on what's happening in Dorset, because I think sometimes we forget that Portland is only a small place and they're really fighting hard. No to the barge is where to look if anybody wants to make comments. And if anybody's watching and would like to comment and talk to us, then please get in contact.
Alex, have you got any thoughts on this?
Yes, when that vessel or that class of vessels was used by the Dutch and also by the Germans, but I know the Dutch situation better for prison overspill, it became known as the bias boat, something that translates as the Nick ship. And there was all kinds of scandals from the left about how this was unworthy and indecent in people's human rights to put them on such barges. And of course, it all came out of the public purse. The same vessels have been repurposed for migrants. And Debbie's just outlined that the same interests and the families are behind it. And all of a sudden, we are to welcome it. Because, of course, there's no shortage. And it pains me to say it, but the evangelical Christians are in the lead here, together with the out-and-out Marxist, the 66 party, in saying, In terms, I covered that a moment ago from that interview we just had with the youth wing leader of the Christian Union Party, saying so naively, there is no problem with the number of migrants coming to the country. It's just a question of forcing the councils to house them and spread them out fairly. So people that blinkered have brought us into this position. The corporate interests just regard it as places to stuff people into and make money. But the difference, of course, this time is that there's a bottomless purse because of the human rights angle.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Now we're just going to end with one slide. We'll put on in 1 second. But the COVID-19 inquiry has been progressing, as we all know, and it was interesting that a couple of days ago, they were covering the behavioural aspects of this. Now they even talked about the Mindspace document at one point. I think it was on Monday, but they were not in any way negative about that. The testimony that was being given was very pro, it seemed to be. But I just thought, Alex, I would ask, since this is the 12th of July, and of course this is the famous day when the Orange Marches happened in Northern Ireland, who do you think would be the best person that the COVID inquiry could decide to bring on to give evidence today?
If you really wanted to rattle the cage, you would bring someone on like the political leader of Sinn Féin IRA, wouldn't you?
Well, let's just show the photograph then, because this is from the COVID inquiry this morning. And yes, there is Michelle O'Neill, and that's exactly who they did bring on to give evidence today. So I doubt very much, Alex, you can correct me on this. I'm sure it wasn't intentional.
Oh, well, I mean, again, Dutch politics can do one better. On Good Friday one year, they brought out the euthanasia pill. And the minister from that D66 party I mentioned, who brought out the news that day, actually used the phrase, "it is finished," to declare that the cabinet had come to an agreement. And afterwards she said, "I had no idea it was Good Friday, and I didn't mean any allusion to the crucifixion by saying it is finished." So if that can be passed through, got away with, then you can get away with claiming it was simply a scheduling error that Sinn Féin's leader was brought on the 12th. Mind you, the BBC has just done a volte-face this year after several years of deciding that the Orange Walk is part of Northern Ireland's cultural heritage and featuring it. They had a hand-wringing statement earlier this year that they would not feature any more parades because it was contrary to the society that the BBC wishes to shape.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you very much. We've got to leave it there for today. So I'm going to say thank you very much to Alex, to Gevorg, and to Debbie for joining us. Thanks to all our viewers for joining us today. We will be back in a couple of minutes if you're a UK Column member for some extra. But otherwise, we will see you at 1 p.m. as usual on Friday. Don't forget the interview at 1 p.m. tomorrow in the usual places, ukcolumn.org/live and community.ukcolumn.org/live. We shall see you then. Bye-bye.